Saturday Math, May 2026, the most important Saturday math of the school year. This is the time of year when we prep, plan, and get ready to initiate the first 5 days of the next school year. Here we go. Hello, 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 and welcome everybody to Saturday Math. This is the most important Saturday math of the school year for a couple of reasons. Number one, it is the final Saturday math. This is the final Saturday math of the 2025-2026 school year, which makes this Saturday math the most important. However, and also, I guess are both words I should use, today's Saturday math, because we are recording this in May, and it happens to be May 2026, we are preparing for the launch of next school year. I know, just calm down a minute. I know we're counting down the days to this school year, but this is the habit that I have created, that many of us have created year by year by year. By the end of May, we have our first 15 days prepped, and specifically our first 5 days. And there's a very important structure to the first 5 days of the school year. So if it is April and May and you have not outlined your first 5 days of the next school year, today is the day we're going to do that together. And you will get a copy of this recording. As a matter of fact, and I want to make sure that you all know this recording today will go public on YouTube so that everyone has this final event of the school year and can view it all summer to make sure that our first 5 days of the 2027-2028 school year are secure. Every year about March, I start to plan all of my partner teachers' first 15 days. And when I say my partner teachers, teachers from kindergarten, first, second grade, third, fourth, fifth, eighth, and then of course, I will be returning to my own classroom next year for Algebra 1, Algebra 2. So today is a big day. It is a special day because it is the most important day of next school year. Now, the other reason that today is essential is today is pre-June event. Anyone who is registered for the June event, and yes, we are having a 15th annual June math event. It is a 3-hour virtual event on Thursday, June 4th. I will drop the flyer in the chat right now. Anyone who's registered for the June event this year will be sent the link to this training, because this training today is the pre-June event. This is the teacher teaching today. So much of what I'm going to teach you today as teachers is not exactly how I will do this with students. The June event is exactly what the first 5 days of school will look like with students, and specifically paving the way to improve fluency next year. So, I'm your host today, Jay-Z in the house, Joni Zupancic here. And if this is your first Saturday math, type first in the chat. I don't think it's anybody's first, but let's just double check. If this is your first Saturday math, go ahead and type first in the chat. And while I'm doing that, I am going to, in the chat, drop the flyer for this year's June event. So if you grab that flyer right now, download the flyer, open the flyer, you'll see this year's June event is 5 days to fluency. It is a 3-hour virtual event on Thursday, June 4th. You do not need to be there live. Just by registering, you will get the recorded training and the Google folder drive link to all of the resources you'll need for your first 5-day fluency cycle. All right, we are going to jump right into the content because I have a notes page for us, and I'm going to really front load a lot of the heavy content in the first 30 minutes. So if you feel like it's going fast and furious, it is. And then what we're going to do after the first 30 minutes is go back and look at everything again a little more in depth. So here's our notes page today. Not only will you get today's link to the recording, but you will also get this notes page. And actually, let me resave this. I did not do that. I need to resave this as the notes page so that I can write on this. As I've already mentioned, this is pre-June event. This is the teacher training notes, the final Saturday math of this school year. And I don't know if you saw behind me. Don't worry about looking at this. I know your screen is probably small for me because I'm sharing my screen. The same information is here. The same information is on my board as is going to be on the notes page. Saturday math pre-June event. I have filled in some of the stuff already on my board, but that stuff is going to be filled in here. When we are launching next school year, and again, I want you to pause to think to yourself how you're feeling right now. You're exhausted, you're overwhelmed, you're just tired, you're done. Like you're counting down the days to summer, and I get that, but you wouldn't be here live on a Saturday if you weren't interested in moving forward. So I'm going to assume that we're all ready to mentally plan for next school year. Today, this is my habit every year. And I want you to start thinking about what will your first 5 days of math be? How will you create consistency, progressions, and habit for your students? How will you focus on improving number sense and fluency? And then how will that drive all of your instruction for the entire school year? There are 3 numbers that are the most important numbers to launch the school year. Then I have some like subset numbers, some like secondary numbers. But the 3 numbers that should launch next school year are 96, 24, and 36. And today we're going to talk about why these numbers, and then we're going to talk a little bit about how we launch the school year with these numbers. There are many reasons why these numbers are absolutely essential. Our students need to be very well versed in these numbers. And I'm going to show you step by step for each number today how we get kids very familiar with each of these numbers. Yeah, I'm writing them large because like it's that important. So we're going to start today with 96. Why 96 is essential. And remember, this is the teacher training. So this is not the order that you're going to do this with students, other than you are going to start with 96, not 24 or 36. Some of us are used to starting with 24, but I want us next school year to start with 96, and I'm going to tell you why in a moment. Do we have Amy Garrison on here today? No, I'm sure she is. She's always traveling to another state, like literally big travel every Saturday. Actually, because her son goes to college in a different state and they go watch him play his sport. But actually, now that I'm thinking about it, it might be move out. They may be busy moving him out. So the reason I say Amy, though, Amy is one of our certified coaches. She teaches first grade, has most of her career taught first grade. Amy is used to starting the school year with the number 24. I'm going to change that for her next year, and I want her to start the school year with number 96. Here are the reasons why. Now, I'm going to take notes on this page, and in the notes that I'm taking, I want you to know that I am going to specify what this looks like in grades 1 and 2 and in Algebra 1 and 2. So I'm going to write G12 for grades 1, 2, A12 for Algebra 1, 2. Don't worry if you teach grades 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, because what the purpose of this is to see how narrow the gap is between grade 1 and 2 and algebra 1 and 2. And we're making things so much more difficult by looking at every grade level individually. Now, at the June event, you will get resources for your specific grade level. But today, I'm going to show you the specifics for grades 1, 2, and Algebra 1, 2. And when I say Algebra 1, I'm not talking about kids that are taking Algebra 1 in middle school in 8th grade. These are kids that didn't have the criteria to be able to do that. So they're defaulting to taking Algebra 1 at the high school level. These are the kids that I teach 9th grade Algebra 1 kids and 11th grade Algebra 2 kids. I teach non-advanced kids, and I also teach all of the students at our high school with any kind of IEP 504, any kind of servicing. So what I'm going to do for grade 1, 2 is I am going to specify that we are going to launch with the number 96. And today we're going to talk about the what's. So this is the what. So what are we going to start with at the beginning of the year? We're going to start with these specific numbers. But what I also want to do right now is give you a little bit of the why, which I think is essential on why in grades 1 and 2 I want to start with the number 96. At the beginning of the year, we want to come out of the gate very complex. I don't want to say we want to like freak kids out, but we kind of want to freak kids out. We do that with behavior. We do that with procedures like lining up and going to lunch. We get very, very aggressive in launching the beginning of the school year with how we want students to experience the year and how we want them to move through the year. We want to do the same thing with math. Here's how I introduce it with students. I'm going to say to them, you know what, in these first couple of weeks of math, and this is exactly what I want us to say to kids in grades 1, 2. I am going to show you things that I am not supposed to show you in math. We're going to do some things in math that you're not supposed to be doing yet. And the reason we're doing that is I want all year this year to be thinking about what you're going to be doing in 6th grade and in 8th grade and in algebra, but at our level in 1st and 2nd grade. So just by defining that for students, hey, I'm going to show you some things that I'm not even like required to show you. Like these are things that we shouldn't be starting the year with, but I want to just play with this stuff a little bit. And then I'm going to say to the kids, do I have your permission to do some of these crazy things? Now, 1st and 2nd graders are going to be like, yeah. The other reason that we're going to start with some of the most complex, and it's really not the most complex, and I say most complex, the number 96 for kids is really complex. However, in the whole scheme of things for really complex, we're just going to play with numbers up to 100. I mean, that's all we're doing. I'm not telling kids that, but just for them seeing the number 96 at the beginning of 1st and 2nd grade is going to blow their mind. Once we start doing our math experiences with the number 96, they're going to be like, this is easy. Oh my gosh. Da da da. I mean, it's going to be very stimulating. But the other reason why we want to start with the most complex, especially with students before 8 years old, the brain is ready. Like the brain will ingest a much higher percentage of content that kids are exposed to prior to 8 years old. So if we don't do this, we are missing an amazing once in a lifetime opportunity with our K1-2 kids. We want to expose. We want to expose and let them play with some of the most complex, essential power numbers, even if they appear higher level than what we're supposed to be doing at our grade level. So why? The brain needs this before 8 years old And the other reason why is because kids are stimulated, curious, and excited right now. So I'm going to show you what the number 96 is going to look like in grades 1, 2. I'm also going to show you what the number 96 looks like in Algebra 1, Algebra 2. So 96 is going to look like, and I'm going to write this here, diamond problem. And I'll show you what that is and how 96 can be essential at the beginning of Algebra 1 and Algebra 2 in high school, but in a different way, but just as stimulating. Okay, so 96, we're going to be looking at grade 1, 2, Algebra 1, 2, what 96 looks like at all of those levels. Let me stop sharing for just a minute. I went really hot and heavy there. Holy moly. How's everybody doing out there? Y'all, I had an agenda today. I was like, let's go. Like, here we go. Janet, I'm so glad you're with us today. How are you?
I'm great.
Awesome. It's so good to have you here. We also have Krista and Sarah, Sarah Neal, Krista Ewing. Give us a wave. Sarah, you may not be able to. Sarah just commented in the chat. Totally fine. Krista and Sarah Neal are two of our certified coaches. I talked about Amy Garrison earlier. And our certified coaches are here today. We have an exciting summer ahead of us. We are getting together for about 6 or 7 days in July. Actually, maybe 2 or 3 days. Oh, Natalie! Natalie West is another one of our certified coaches. Natalie, I didn't see you there. You know why your name is all in lowercase? I'm flaking this morning. Natalie, you look beautiful today.
Stop. No,
Look at
stop.
the colors. Oh, I love the color with it matches your cheeks and your hair. Oh my gosh, girl.
Surround yourself with good people. Thank you.
I mean, what can I say? Natalie, I'm so sorry I missed you here. You're right in front of me. I
I'm
mean,
just
come on.
all good.
But we are going to be spending time, the team is going to be spending time in July creating a lot more of these specifics for specific grade levels. So Amy is going to be focusing on grade 1. I'm going to be focusing on grade 2, 3, 4. Krista and Natalie are going to be focusing on grade 5, 6. Janet is our 7th grade teacher. So shout out to Janet, 7th grade. Sarah W., our 3rd grade teacher. So very specifics for 3rd grade. And then I teach Algebra 1 and Algebra 2. I also am partnered with grade 7, 8 teachers. And for most of my career, taught 7th and 8th grade when I was in the classroom previously. So my point is in July, what you're seeing today is going to be expanded with the team as we meet in July and create all of these goodies for you for the next school year. So we're very excited about that. As we look at these numbers, 96, 24, 36, for those of you that are familiar, what comes to mind when you see those numbers? Now, if you're watching this recording and you're here for the first time, which I don't think anybody is, I think everybody's a regular. But if you're watching this recording and I am posting this public on YouTube, this specific session, if you're watching this recording, you've never interacted with us before, don't worry about what I'm saying next. But for those of you that have, when I mention the numbers 96, 24, 36, what comes to mind? Type those things in the chat right now or unmute and talk to us. So think about 96. I've already given you a preview. You kind of saw part of a 120 chart. I mentioned diamond problems. So I want you all to pay attention to this if you're watching the recording of this. Those of us that are well versed in this model, In the Minds on Math model of delivery of instruction, we know that there are three very important things to map out for the school year, and that is the what's, the essential mathematics, the whens, meaning how do we cycle the essentials throughout every month of the school year, and the hows, how do we do this? This was a how question I asked. How do we cycle the most essentials throughout every month of the school year? And I usually say 15-day cycles. It's because of what I'm going to read to you in the chat right now. So, our team, our certified coaches, our regulars, when I say 96, 24, 36, when I just mention those three numbers, the first thing they think of are rectangles and squares, rectangles, locker problem, factoring, diamond problems, length of 2 by 4. Oh, Amy Garrison's coming. Oh my gosh, everybody quiet clap for Amy. Oh my gosh, this is going to be so funny. Where is she? Oh, she's joining. She's trying. Amy, where are you? Where are you? She's gonna love it when she sees this recording. It says joining. She's not here. Oh my gosh, the anticipation is killing me. Oh, there she is. I see your name. Okay. All right. All right. Here we go. Amy, everybody. Amy, we were doing like a little prank deal on you. We wanted to just give you an amazing entrance. We were just talking about you. Were your ears burning? You probably can't talk. It looks like you're somewhere really important.
I am not. We're getting a really late start, and I'm in the hotel lobby for breakfast to travel home. Drew had a
See,
game
I
last
told you
night.
guys Amy was traveling, and
Oh
I
no, you're
thought maybe
frozen.
it was move out. Is it move out time of college? She's frozen. We don't know. We always lose Amy. You guys, this is how important all of this stuff is. Amy can never dare to miss a session. So Amy, you're frozen, but it's okay. It's okay. We were talking about Amy. Everybody knows why. Amy doesn't need to know. The point on these numbers is there are certain triggers that are mathematical experiences that if you are well versed in the Minds on Math model, this triggers certain connections and associations. When we are trying to scale achievement for our most struggling students, our special ed students, these triggers of associations and connections are absolutely necessary. In the dyslexia world, there's this mantra that says, what is necessary for some. So, our struggling kids, our kids with learning disabilities, our students that have any kind of brain disconnects, they need certain types of instruction and certain types of instructional facilitation and delivery. We at Minds on Math specify that for mathematics. But in the dyslexia world, they say necessary for some. So what we're sharing with you is absolutely necessary for some of our students. They will not learn otherwise. But the beauty of it is this is beneficial for all, especially our gifted kids. Because our gifted kids, we really, really, really struggle to stimulate. So I almost want to teach my gifted kids, which I don't teach my own gifted kids anymore. I used to, but I want to teach my gifted kids as if I'm teaching teachers. So when I tell you today, this is the teacher teaching, I want you to be very transparent with gifted kids and give them the teacher teaching. Like they need it because then they're going to help us make better triggers from what I've told you, if that makes sense. So we're going to deliver to our gifted kids a little differently. And we're going to be very transparent with our gifted kids. And we're just going to be honest with them. And we're going to say, look, my brain doesn't work the way yours does. So I'm going to need your help in stimulating. But I've been taught by my coach that these are the things that I should be using to trigger your stimulation. 96, 24, 36. Now, Once we give our kids the experiences that I'm going to teach part of today, and then the June event is going to teach the rest, then anytime I mention these numbers, your kids will have the same triggers that us adults do on this session today. Any other thoughts, questions, or comments as I share what I've shared so far?
I really liked how you just said that because that's what I've been doing and I didn't realize it. So when I do these prompts with my gifted kids, I can go deeper and they're noticing so many more things. And I kind of felt like, oh, I'm not being very effective because my, IEP kids and my lower kids aren't picking up on this. But I was like, well, at least I'm getting it with one class. So thank you for summarizing it that way because I'm like, oh, that's exactly how it's happening naturally in my classroom.
And don't be afraid to not know what we're doing with gifted kids. Like, it's like, I don't know. I don't know how to keep pushing them. You just teach them like I'm teaching teachers and just be like, honestly, guys, you're going to help me help you because they don't know the adult stuff as much as we do, but they know what they need. They can't always articulate it. That's why we have to use some of these triggers. So these numbers are specific triggers for them and for us. Other thoughts on that?
So I don't teach gifted kids, but I've got a couple of really bright kids, and one of them, you might remember Aiden. He, by the way, had the most fun ever, he said, in math when you were in my room. But since then, we keep trading diamond problems back and forth. He's made some, I make some challenging ones for him. He has like blown me away with some of the diamonds he's created. And then I shared the least spicy ones with the whole class and be like, this is an Aiden problem. Who's ready for a challenge? And like some of the other kids have started solving his diamond problems. And so that's just one little strategy that's pushed him up. And just little things like that where he's like living his best life, but he is so excited.
And y'all, that was gold right there that Natalie just said. That was gold. So if you're watching the recording, go back and listen to it again, pick up all of the pieces on it. And a connection that I'm going to make to what Natalie said also is when you think about stimulating the brain and you think about blooms. Okay, so I'm going to do a lot of connections to science of reading because last year in Ohio specifically, every teacher, no matter the grade level or subject level, had to go through the science of reading training. I just did it over the past 2 weeks. I didn't do it last year, but I did it over the past 2 weeks and just finished. But in the science of reading training, Bloom's taxonomy is looked at, and it's varied for a while, but the updated version, what is the highest level? Type it in the chat or say it out loud. What is the highest level? What is the word trigger there at the highest level? Come on, make me proud. It's not fair because I just went through the training, so I like just saw it last week. Creating. So, Natalie, when you say Aiden's problems, this is great for bright kids. Now, gifted kids, I wouldn't say they love creating. They will, and they're good at it. That's what I'll say about truly gifted kids. Bright kids, though, bright kids are that tier down. Bright kids are the kids who oftentimes parents and teachers think are gifted because it's what I call like this false positive gifted. Because these kids work really hard and they have a drive, we're like, oh my gosh, they're so gifted. They know so much because they have this drive. Um, did I say that wrong? Wait a minute. I think I said the wrong words when I was talking about bright kids and I might have interchanged it. So whatever. But let me start again and say it another way. So bright kids actually do love the creating piece because bright kids are more of teacher pleasers. So if I'm like, "Hey, I need you guys to create," they're like, "Okay." Like, you know what I mean? They're kind of more like conforming than gifted kids. And with bright kids, they create a lot of my really good stuff that I wouldn't have thought of, just like Natalie said. And bright kids actually are more helpful to me in triggering gifted kids, if that makes sense. Bright kids love school. Bright kids love school. Gifted kids do not love school, but they actually love learning. Like they're addicted to learning. They wouldn't be able to articulate that, but like their brain is just like more, 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 more. So gifted kids oftentimes hate school, but they love learning, which gifted kids have our system figured out. They know that school isn't about learning. Ouch. 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 Okay? So let's learn from that. Bright kids are like our school game kids. So what Natalie said was golden. Go back and listen to that. Other thoughts, comments, question, any additions to what we've just said?
I would say, because I do have classes of gifted kids, you have to convince them. Like they have to see the benefit and you have to convince them why they need to do it. Like spend the time thinking on what you need to have them thinking on. And I find that my first 15, 20 days of school is getting them to buy into the process and having them really like know that I'm not just doing things to torture them, if you will.
And Krista, I don't mean to put on the spot, but can you tell I don't know this is putting you on the spot, but if not, you can think about it and we'll come back to you later. But how do you get them to buy in? Like what are some of the moves that you make? Because this is also a good gold nugget here. And people are going to be watching this going, okay, how do you do that? So can you answer that now or do you want to think about it for a moment? I know that's like,
I don't know if I have a full answer. My gut wants to say, um, I give them something that they truly don't know the very first time because these kids are used to walking in and knowing more than the teacher. And when I can give them a stimulus that they can't just get right away, or they're like, what? Like, I have to get their brain to stop and be like, what the heck is she doing? Like, what is this? And the minute I can create that, they're hooked.
that is so beautiful. Bam! You just like pulled that out of nowhere. Like we didn't prep for this at all. That is absolutely beautiful. And I think that's the number one thing is that stimulation. Go back, y'all, there's so many connections here. Go back to what I said about grades 1 and 2. See, this is true for all kids, not just gifted kids in grades 1 and 2. This was the why. This was the neuroscience reason why that Krista just answered for these kids. So that's spot on. I mean, that's dynamic right there. Sarah, great point with tutoring, like and tutoring high school students. Sometimes it's challenging to convince the parents that what we're doing seems too simple, but it's actually worth our time. So how do I make 96 not seem too simple for Algebra 2? I'm going to show you that here in just a moment. Sarah, great point on that. Brian, absolutely fantastic. I use conjectures to get my gifted kids thinking. Yeah. So a conjecture is a statement that we're going to make that we're either going to prove or disprove. But if we want to make that deeper, take that a step further, we're going to make a conjecture. We're going to make a statement that is either always true, sometimes true, or never true. This is another mathematical, I'm going to call this a strategy. A strategy. There is a math strategy called always, sometimes, never. I'm going to put that in the strategy category. I wasn't going to talk about that today, but I'm actually going to list this over here. This is kind of different than any of the other things. I can't. Strat, G. Okay, so there's a strategy, always, sometimes, never, ASN. Another strategy that we use, totally unrelated here, is called 20 ways. I'm going to define these strategies as mathematical facilitation structures, for lack of a better word. Like these are things that we will do a lot. The reason I thought of this, the reason I was triggered is because of the word conjecture. So when students start to become curious, they don't know how to do something, they're mentally stimulated, they start asking what ifs. Well, what if? And I wonder. And they start to think in that higher level of blooms. And then we have to see that and identify that as a teacher. Then we have to swoop in and say, what I hear you saying is, and then we make the statement either that the student made or the words that we think they wanted to say. And then when the kids are like, yeah, then we put that statement up. And some of the kids are like, well, no, no. We create that cognitive dissonance. And I'll be like, look, I'm not saying this statement is true. I'm just putting the statement up. In mathematics, we call these types of statements conjectures. I'll even do this with my first and second grade because my second graders might say, well, that can't happen because when we subtract, we have to get a smaller number. And I'll be like, ooh, that's interesting. Let's put that statement on the board. We're going to call, and this is second grade, we're going to call this statement a conjecture. So I'm going to write this. I'm not saying it's true, but I'm going to write this. When we subtract, we get a smaller number. And I'll write that statement and I'll call it a conjecture. These are the things that I'm doing very early on with all of my students, my Algebra 1 students and my second grade students at the same time. The tone that I use is different depending on the grade level that I'm talking to, but the words I'm saying are exactly the same. So with my Algebra 1 kids, I'll be like, ooh, so when we multiply, we always get a bigger number. That's what I hear you saying. I'm going to write this statement. And then some kids are already like, well, no, that's not true. And most of the kids are like, yeah. I'm like, I'm not saying it's true or not. I'm going to write that statement. We call this statement a conjecture. Okay, this is how I'm teaching it to kids. This is how I'm teaching it to kids. These are the habits I want you to pick up. So then I write the statement. I even will write the statement on a sentence strip and I will hang it on the wall in my room. And underneath it, I'll tell them, we're not going to answer this today, but we're going to use a strategy called always, sometimes, never. I want to know if this statement is always true, sometimes true, or never true. And I want us to vote. So then I'm going to put that underneath and I'm going to put the tally marks for how we voted as to always, sometimes, and never true. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to let that linger. I am not going to tie the bow. I'm not going to finalize it. I'm not going to confirm or deny which is accurate. I'm going to move on. The reason we let it linger is we trigger the subconscious mind for our students. This is important for our gifted students because they want this. They desire this. But it's actually more important for our struggling students. Hear me out. If you do nothing else with your struggling students next year, leave questions unanswered and problems not solved. Our most struggling students, our special ed students, our students with disabilities are the ones who need most. It is necessary to let things linger with them because the biggest barrier to scaling their math achievement is not activating their subconscious mind. So our struggling students need more opportunities for their subconscious mind to be activated. We don't even have to tell them we're doing this. Don't make it complicated. Just leave some questions unanswered and some problems not solved. Even if you have your bright kids, they're like, no, it's this, it's this, it's this, it's this. I'll be like, I am so glad you are very confident about it, but we're going to let that be for now. It's going to drive them crazy, but it is necessary for our struggling students. It is necessary to activate their subconscious mind because especially students with processing issues, their processing does not activate and get exercised unless we open up the subconscious. The only way to open up and activate the subconscious is to leave things linger, to leave things unfinished. Then kids will be thinking about this without knowing they're thinking about it. And then when they sleep, that's when the subconscious mind really goes to work and starts to imprint on the brain. Ooh, that was a lot. Thoughts, comments, questions, unmute, let us know, and I'll read the comments. It is really hard for our special ed teachers to do because we have not been trained in science of learning, in the science of the brain, in how the brain learns, in cognitive science and in neuroscience. Let it, oh, love the song connection. Sarah, Cranberries, Let It Linger. That will be my theme song for next year. Love it. See, I go down these rabbit holes. I try to have an agenda. I try to stay linear. I try to this, I try to that, and I can't do it. You guys, it's impossible. Okay. So I don't even know what notes to write. Anyway, go back and listen to the recording because a lot just happened there. I don't even know how to articulate it. So there you go. All right. So we're going to start with 96. I am going to specify what it looks like at grade 1, 2, and Algebra 1, 2, and I'm going to do that now, okay? But I wanted to give you a little bit of the why. Just like our gifted kids, they have to buy in. Us as teachers, we're skeptical. There have been so many initiatives that have come in and out that we're like, I mean, it's like crying wolf anymore. Things come into us and we're just like, psh, whatever, it'll be gone soon if I just ignore it. We are skeptics. So part of my job, our job as the team, is to get people to buy in, teachers to buy in, just like Krista said with our students. So some of these whys I need to be very specific about because it's what the brain needs. We know more about the brain today and how it learns than ever before. And so I want to bring that learning to you. We as teachers, educators, administrators, curriculum directors, instructional coaches, we have not been trained in neuroscience and cognitive science and how the brain learns. So the Minds on Math model, it is essential for us to train you in these aspects because we are in charge of learning. Okay, so 96. Here's what it looks like for grades 1, 2, and then I'll get back to Algebra 1. It looks like a 120 chart. Now, it actually looks like this for Algebra 1, 2 also. But let me just pretend that I am teaching grades 1, 2 right now. In grades 1, 2, the absolute, and let me actually type this, the absolute foundation to improving number sense is counting exercises. We must be counting all the time, counting in different ways, counting forward and backwards, skip counting, counting down to the negative numbers, counting by fraction. Counting is the key to improving number sense. Counting is the key to improving number sense. This is not only true in the earlier grades, it's true in the later grades. So when we are doing diamond problems with our higher level kids, I'm still thinking in my mind, count. Oh, what just happened? Hold on. I hope I didn't lose you. Oh my gosh, my computer just totally blanked. Okay. So what I'm going to do here to highlight is I'm going to draw and I'm going to circle 96 because that's the number we're focused on. One of the exercises that we want to do with students is talk about 96 being the land-on number. Land-on numbers are essential. I'm going to type that in. So our land on number is 96. And what do we mean by that? What we mean by that is what numbers can I skip count by to land on 96? Go ahead and type that in the chat. What numbers can I skip count by to land on 96? Now, this is to improve our own number sense. I'm going to go through a lot of steps at once. This isn't exactly how I would do it with first and second grade because I want you to know more of the content than what you're going to deliver to them in the first 5 days. But throughout the school year, I want kids to be able to do this very fluently. Okay, so here are the numbers that you guys are putting in. Very common, typical numbers 2, 3, 4. Okay, fantastic. Fantastic. Y'all forgot about 1. Okay, kids forget about 1 also. Kids forget about 1. I can skip count by 1 to land on 96. And my question, my next follow-up question is, how many skip counts by 1 to land on 96? And there are 96 skip counts by 1 to land on 96. Now we're going to start to make these connections. We're going to start to connect, okay, what numbers can I skip count by to land on 96? And how many counts is it going to take to land on 96? Janet, I'm so proud of you. Oh, Janet. Janet says 1/2. That was going to be one that I was going to bring in today. That was a planned one, but you're way ahead of me. And then the next question is, how many skip counts by 1/2 to land on 96? Dun, dun, dun. What is it? 180, 92? 192? Is that right? Oops, I didn't write that right. Let me write the 2. Is it 192? Someone help me math, please. Yes, okay. Natalie,
One of my students has really helped me with this. They
tell
say
us.
they have taught me to break things apart. So they'll say, well, I do 90 times 2, which is 180, and then I do 6 times 2, and it's 12. So that's how I got 192.
Love it. Love it. See, when we train our students to think this way, it becomes a part of what they do. It's actually very natural for students to think this way. So in grades 1 and 2, and let me bring this up because this is related to what Janet is saying. Let me get off of bold for a minute and I'm going to type these notes in. In grades 1 and 2, I have kids place value counting. So we will count instead of 8, 9, 10, we will count 1, 10, sorry. We will count 8, 9, 10, but instead of counting 11, I meant to do that. Hold on. This wasn't part of what I was going to do today, so just give me a little bit of grace on how I'm presenting this because I didn't practice it. So instead of saying 11, which means nothing, 11, 12, 13, what we do is we say 8, 9, 10, then we count in terms of 10. So we will have kids count 1, 10, 1, because in some of the Asian languages, in Singapore specifically, their language doesn't have a new word for 11 or 12. Like there's nothing, like I mean, you guys could probably verse me on it, but I don't even know like why 11 means 11, 1, 10, 1. Is there a root? I don't know. Is there a Latin? I honestly, I don't know. I need to look it up. But anyway, our language is very confusing with place value. So in other languages, they will count instead of 11, they'll just say 1, 10, 1. They'll just call it like it is. That's their word for 11. And then 1, 10, 2, 1, 10, 3, etc. And then instead of 20, instead of 20, a new word for 20, guess what we say? We say 210. You could say 210, but we could say 210 and then 210, 210, 210, 210, The reason I say that is before kids are 8 years old, it's very important to expose this to them because their brains are, they're going to acquire a much higher percentage of their exposures at this young age. That's why trauma, babies in trauma or toddlers, it's very difficult to come back from that when it happens at a very young age. So Janet has opened the door in her 7th grade classroom to trigger students to think like this. One of my biggest points is for our younger kids, it's already natural to think this way. School schools it out of them. So Janet has given the opportunity in her 7th grade classroom through her instructional facilitation to allow kids to remember what it used to be like to think this way because it's very natural for kids. And they're much closer to the time of thinking this way than we are at our age. So even with Janet's 7th graders, she can talk about this language of teaching, and then it opens the door for them to then start thinking about mathematics very differently. So I don't have to have all the answers as a teacher. I've trained my kids to open up this type of thinking, and then they can teach me. They're much more natural at it than we are, which actually I think is why Janet was able to be like, oh, 1/2, because I know how fancy we get with these things. So I know we can do 1/2, which her point was 96 and 96, but that was the whole point of the story. And Natalie, you are my favorite right now. See, I have to massage Natalie for a moment because I forgot to mention her name. I didn't forget to mention her. She wasn't there. 12 and 8 are both numbers that I can skip count to land on 96. Yep. Spanish. Yep. Yep. Yeah. Oh, good. Talk amongst yourself there. Okay. So I like, yeah, so yes, 2, how many counts? 3, how many counts? Now we could have kids just give us numbers early in the school year and we don't have to answer this how many counts. We can let that linger and that can be something we can come back to. What I'm trying to do in the first 5 days of school is create a lot of things that are lingering that gives me some to-dos and some lesson plans for later on. Now, some kids might be like 10, and I'm going to write that and I'm going to be like, okay, now we need to figure out how many counts by 10. Now, you guys are going to be like, 10 doesn't work. Yeah, I know 10 doesn't work. I'm not going to say that to my kids. I'm going to let it linger. I'm going to let them tell me this is a good assessment. This is a good formative assessment. But Natalie, love you so much. What did Natalie say? She didn't say 6. She said 8 and 12, I think. Yeah. I don't know why I put 6. We're just going to leave 6 there. We're going to pretend. And then Natalie's like, oop, I know 8 and 12. And see that 8 and 12 are 2 of the other most important numbers. Let me go back to my notes here. So what I'm going to do is from 96, there are going to be other sub numbers that are extremely important. 3, because 96 follows the divisibility rules of 3, 9 plus 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. If the sum of the digits is divisible by 3, the number is divisible by 3. And then I'm going to put here 12. I'm also going to put 16. 16 is a very essential number. Also going to put 8. And I'm going to put 6 with a question mark. So these are some of the sub numbers for 96 that are going to come out of 96. Now, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to make the connection here to a diamond problem. And I'm going to put 96 on the top of our diamond. And let me think for a minute how I want to do this. I'm going to put 22 at the bottom. Now, for those of you that have never seen a diamond problem, in grades 1 and 2, when I introduce diamond problems to grade 1 and 2, I'm going to put 12 and 7. Okay. I'm going to put 12 and 7. In grades 1 and 2, I'm going to define 12 as our array number. And I'm going to teach this in just a moment. It's going to be on the next page of our notes. Okay. And in Algebra 1, 2, I'm going to call this our area. Now, in typical diamond problems, this top number is called the product. So we introduce diamonds in different ways depending on the grade level. Now, everybody always asks, why are they called diamond problems? This is not mine. I didn't create this, but it's diamond problems because if you look at a diamond, it's actually this tilted rectangle, and they're actually written like this, 12 and 7. And so when you turn this, I wonder if this will all be in the same. Oh, the 12 and 7 won't go with it, but don't worry about it. When you turn this, you have this rectangle. Multiplication is always rectangle. Now, this is me and mine's on math. This is me and mine's on math. When I say, hold on, because I'm trying to type the notes when I do this. So, because if I don't type the notes, then you guys won't have it. And okay, so this is me. Multiplication, let me back this up, is rectangle. So anytime kids see anything multiplication, it is rectangle. Now, I'm not saying this to my first, second graders because they don't know that terminology yet. That's why I'm calling this the array number. And then the top number here, I can call the area because array number is area later. I'm just changing the terminology. The concept stays the same. And then this becomes product. The bottom number becomes the sum, which I can say that at first and second grade. I want them to know that word. So in first and second grade, I'm going to say this is the array number and this is the sum. Now, oftentimes my first and second grade teachers will come back to me and say, Joni, we just want kids to be kids. Like, why are we pushing all this high level complex? Like, we're doing this because this is what kids crave. I'm not doing it to keep pushing the math down to lower grades, lower grades, lower grades. I'm doing this because we get the benefit of both. Kids crave processing like this. They crave problems like this. They crave this. And I'm going to show you how to give every kid access and an entry point in a moment with the tools that we use. So it's not that we're pushing the math down, we're doing the math differently based on what the child's brain is telling us it needs and wants. And trust me on this as far as neuroscience and cognitive science. What we've also found is when we do this and kids love it, just like Natalie said, it was their favorite day in math when you came, Joni. I don't believe it. Natalie, you give them their favorite day every day. But the point is, kids love it. You don't because you're uncomfortable with it as a teacher. Maybe you're too type A, maybe you're too controlling, whatever the case may be. You've got to let that go for you to give the kids what their brain needs. And this is what their brain needs. So, how do I deal with array number? Well, if we look at 120 chart, what we've done with kids, or what we want to do with kids, is we want to have them, I could make the land on number 12. I could make the land on number 12 for my kids. And we could do the same thing we're doing with 96. What numbers can we skip count by to land on 12? So kids have had a lot of this, blah, blah, blah. Here's the next phase. So counting is essential. Counting is essential. The second most essential thing that we need to be doing with our students is rectangles. So after we figure out what numbers we can skip count by to land on 96, we haven't solidified how many counts it takes. We then want kids to make all the rectangles that have an area of 96. Now, I'm going to introduce 96 to my first and second graders. We're not going to answer any of those questions, though. We're going to let it linger. And then we're going to say, you know what? Instead of doing 96, let's go back and do a lot with 12. But see, 96 was the intro. We want to intro 96 before the 12 to our first and second graders because that gives us an opportunity to let 96 linger, activate the subconscious mind, and then solidify all of those answers with the number 12. So then on our grid paper, and actually with our kids, we want to give them blocks. We want to give them blocks and we want them to actually physically touch. We want lots of sensory, multisensory. We want concrete. We want hands-on. We want to use manipulatives. We want to give them blocks and we only want to give them 12 blocks. You only have 12 blocks and you need to make as many rectangles as you can with exactly 12 blocks. And your rectangles must be filled in. You can't just make a border. What are the dimensions? And yes, I say this to first and second grade. You're going to then have them build these rectangles and you're going to say, what are the dimensions of your rectangles? What are the dimensions? And then the way that I trigger this with students, because they're like dimensions, I will say, how long, how tall? But I'll keep using those words interchangeably. What are your dimensions? How long, how tall? And I'll just say it like fluidly. So I'll go to another group and I'll be like, oh, you have a rectangle. What are your dimensions? How tall, how long? Oh, it's 4 blocks tall and 3 blocks long. Perfect. Now that we're building these, what we're going to do now is we are going to create the rectangle 4 blocks tall, 3 blocks long. And kids are going to struggle with this. They are not going. So here's what kids do when I say draw the rectangle. They put the blocks down and I purposefully have the blocks that are bigger than these squares. And then they trace the blocks and they're like, this is my 3 by 4. And I'm like, no, it's not. Then we explicitly teach. Then we explicitly teach. After they've built and after they've realized that they have a 4 tall, 3 long, the dimensions are 4 by 3, we explicitly teach. What I want you to do, and I'm going to use this word model. I want you to model your build. You just built with the 12 blocks. Here it is in your hands. And because these blocks are smaller, I want this one square to represent one of your blocks that you built with. This is explicit teaching with our kids. This is how we do explicit teaching on how to model the rectangle that they built. There's a lot of ways to model this. For some kids, doing this outline is almost impossible. So what we're going to do, I'm going to teach kids explicitly to put an X on the 3 long. So you're going to put an X to represent those 3 blocks and we're going to one-to-one it. We're going to point to the 3 blocks and then over here we're going to X and then they can X out. So we have to be very explicit. This is teaching. This is what we're doing in the first however many days of school is teaching kids how to use this great mathematical tool, grid paper. So kids are building, they're drawing. Now, some of my high school Algebra 1 kids are going to need this, but I'm going to do this for my high school Algebra 1 kids with the number 96. If they can't fluently tell me the dimensions of rectangles for 96, I'm going to have them build and draw. And yes, I may have to do that with my Algebra 1 kids. Also with my Algebra 1 kids, when I'm using 96, I'm going to, so let me write Algebra 1 here. So Algebra 1 and Algebra 2, we'll say Algebra 1 and Algebra 2, I'm going to do rectangle with 96. Now, for some of them, they'll be like, okay, 1 and 96, 2 and, what is it, 48, 3 and da-da-da. They'll be able to fluently say that. So for those kids, I'm going to be like, okay, now let's say your height of your rectangle is a half or the height of your rectangle is a fourth. So see, we're still using 96, but now we're upping. We're still doing rectangles. We're still doing multiplication. We're doing a fourth of 96. We could do 3/4 of 96. We can do like all this stuff. This all came from diamond problems. Remember, 12 was my array number. I'm specifying this with my kids. Once they draw this and we see we have 12 X's, there are 12 blocks, it makes an array. An array is this rectangle formation of objects that have a certain number of rows and a certain number of columns. So array is absolutely essential at this level. And then in third grade, the word array turns into area. The word array turns into area, very closely related. But here's the point. In first and second grade, to introduce these diamond problems, 12 is your array number. So I'm trying to figure out what rectangle, and I can have this rectangle that's a 4 by 3. Guess what? The array number is 12, which means there are 12 inside the array. That's how we're defining the top of the diamond. But the sum, so these two numbers right here have to make an array number of 12, which they do. But these two numbers right here have to add together to get 7. And guess what, my friends? 3 and 4. Now, look at everything that happened with 96 and all of the teaching and lingering that I created. Let me stop sharing for a moment. Let me look. I haven't looked at your comments here. Unmute and talk to me as I catch up on the comments here.
I have found it at sixth grade with triangles to switch dimension talk to how long and how tall as well.
Tell us more.
Well, with my with some of my struggling learners, it's like they have a hard time identifying like the base and the height have to meet at perpendicular. And so we've been doing a lot of um on the coordinate plane, graphing them so that and then taking that into area. And so I just have them go back to what we did with rectangles, how long and how tall, and they can always figure out the base and the height all the time if I just use those words with them.
Excellent. Excellent. Other thoughts?
I was just going to share, I wrote in the chat, it was, again, like a learning experience. As a coach, I don't get to be with students all the time, so I don't always know like what I'm coming into, but it was kind of revealing as we were trying to do an activity on making rectangles, the idea that like the students don't naturally like see that connection of like you said, kind of making that connection for them between array and area, and that, rectangle can represent multiplication. Um, I just, again, it comes back to the benefit of what you said of like starting early with these things so that like every year you're kind of building and reinforcing off of them. And so again, and even like you said with high schoolers, there are some high schoolers that um like middle schoolers and high schoolers I've asked to like, well, can you create as many rectangles as you can with like area 24? And for some of them, like that's still kind of challenging. So I appreciate the reminder about sometimes taking that step back to do some of the more explicit steps of things you think they should be able to understand or follow if you're just describing.
And if they haven't had instructional facilitation that has triggered this year after year, they don't have the knowledge because the teachers didn't have the knowledge to expose it that way. The other point of this is we at the secondary level, we're always complaining. Kids don't know their facts. Kids don't know their facts. Kids don't know their facts. And what we're saying with that is single digit multiplication facts. So how do we improve that? I've just shown you how. Counting rectangles and diamond problems. That's the answer. That's how my kids, my Algebra 1 and Algebra 2 kids, have improved their fluency and their automaticity with facts. This is exactly how. So what's going to happen is some people are going to watch this recording and be like, oh, but then how do I improve their facts? Because they don't know which two numbers. Well, this exercise is the exercise they need to get better than that. With my kids, I do a diamond a day. I've done that since the beginning of the school year. A diamond a day. So at the beginning of the year, you're right. They can't do it. They don't know how to do it. They're not fluent in it. But it's consistency and progression throughout the year. So this is the answer to fact fluency. This is the actual answer to fact fluency. Counting and land on numbers using the 120 chart, diamond problems, and making rectangles. That's the answer to fact fluency. And that's the answer to improving number sense. Great point on that. Absolutely, positively. Oh, shoot. Wait a minute here. I was going to share again, but just now reading through rectangles in the book. So 3 and 4 may change depending on it. Yes. Oh, and Amy, good point. Yes, it generates the capability of more flexibility in math thinking. So Brian, I think this is what you're asking, but I don't want to assume. So you can let us know. So yeah, what I can do the next day in grade 1 and 2 is I can put the number 12 again, but I can put the number 13. Ah! I get so excited. Love messing with kids' brains. Okay. So now I have to figure, okay, 12 is still the array number. So this makes an array number of 12, but this doesn't give me 13. So what two numbers will give me an array number of 12, but a sum of 13? When you guys know, put it in the chat. Let Brian think about it first, okay? Now, I'm going to ask the rest of you this also. Your product is 96. Oh, I shouldn't have circled that because now I'm going, what am I doing? I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm getting excited now. So what two numbers multiply together to give me 96, but add together to give me 22? And I can think of this in terms of area, okay? Or I can just think of factors of 96. What numbers did I skip count by that landed on 96 and combinations of those numbers? Or I can make rectangles with 96. See, and in these diamond problems, I could put 96 here, and I could put one of my factors as 1/2. So I can put a left number and a top number. So I have to figure out 1/2 times what number is 96. And then once I figure out that number, I can do this number plus 1/2 is my sum. So this is the key to building fluency. But what we have to do is we have to identify our trigger numbers. 96, we didn't do 24 and 36 today, but that's what June event will give you the slides and the student worksheets, the 2-column worksheets. 2-column worksheets are you cut them in half long ways. You give kids the right side of the worksheet that's their task cards. It like facilitates for them. But the left side of the worksheet is the teacher facilitation, so you know what questions to ask. So you're going to get slide decks and 2-column worksheets at the June event for these trigger numbers. And it's going to have exactly what kids are doing. It's going to have, for each grade level, the first 5-day diamond problems and the variations. And then it's also going to have the 120 chart questions and the rectangle questions at all of the grade levels. Okay, I'm seeing a lot of comments come in here in a moment. Yeah, Crystal, 1 and 13 or 1 and 12 that you said. See, then I did your oops. Yep, 1 times 12 is 12. 1 plus 12 is 13. That's it. Krista, for my higher learners, when we come back to 96, I have explore creating triangles with area of 96. See, this is at different grade. This is what we're creating for you in July. Are from this foundation, we're creating all of these other extensions and lessons for you that we're going to have. Yeah. See, and this is the point for this. It stretches their brain, and at the beginning of the year, they're going to be awful. And you're going to be like, well, they can't do diamonds. So now I have to go back and do intervention to get them better at diamonds. No, diamonds is the intervention. Like I'm trying, like diamond problem. If you just start giving them, giving kids a diamond a day or a diamond a week, I don't want to overwhelm you. They will get better at it. They have to. Now, I give my kids multiplication charts. I buy the little multiplication chart stickers, and then they stick them into their warm-up folders that we use every day. And at the beginning of the year, they use those a lot. What I find out is in Algebra 1, a lot of my special ed kids don't even know how to use a multiplication chart. We've been giving them multiplication charts for years as like an accommodation. They don't even know how to use it. They're like, oh, I need a multiplication chart. But then they'll be like, oh, I don't know what numbers like make 24. I'm like, well, use your multiplication chart. And they're like, where is it in the multiplication? I'm like, oh my gosh. Okay. Sarah, yes.
Sorry, so quick question for what you just said. So, I'm a teacher who like hasn't done diamond problems. I'm like, oh, this is a great idea. I do it that first day. I'm like, oh, my kids can't do this. So, what is that step like? Do you then, like you said, kind of take out the physical models to like explain and show to them like what we're doing and making that connection like in a physical representation for them to kind of like launch from for like then the next time that you do it?
So, what I will specifically do, let me answer that in just a minute. Wait a minute. Let me, okay. Yep. Okay. Okay. Let me back up. Sarah, this is a great question. Let me back up. Okay. So, let's suppose I give my kids second day of school. I tell them what diamond problems are. I give them this diamond. They have no idea. So, I don't answer it either. So then the second day of school, I forget about the diamond problem. Maybe I don't give a diamond problem the second day. I give something that's going to appear totally unrelated. I'm going to be like, you know what? Today we're going to look at this number 96 again, and it's going to be our land on number. I'm going to do this exercise with them, but I'm not going to connect it to the diamond explicitly. So I'm going to just have kids start to brainstorm what numbers land on 96. Some of your kids, though, are going to be like, oh, that was the numbers on the. I'll be like, what diamond? What are you talking about? What did it? They'll start to make the connection. I'll play dumb. I won't go back and do it yet. Then the third day with my kids, I'm going to be like, okay, I'm going to give you guys blocks and grid paper, and I want you to make numbers, or I'm sorry, I want you to make rectangles with 96 blocks. Some of these you're going to know. Some of them you're not going to be able to draw because you don't have enough blocks on the page. So you're going to have to scale. Like this might be, you might count by twos or you might count by fives or whatever it is. So this is also good exercise. So I'm going to do that day 3, have them. So then on day four, this was day 1's diamond. So then day 4, I'm going to give them this diamond. I'm going to give them 96 and I'm going to give them 97. They're still not going to know how to do it. Like by the 4th day of school, I'm going to be frustrated as a teacher. The kids are going to be frustrated. They're going to be like, what are we doing all this disconnected stuff? This doesn't even make sense. But once we start going in that cycle, diamond 120, rectangle, diamond 120, rectangle, diamond 120, rectangle. After like the first 15 days of doing 5 of these 3-day cycles, if you trust it and you stick with it and you stay consistent, by that 15th day, your kids are going to be addicted to diamonds and they're going to be empowered to be able to do them because they know they can use 120 chart and rectangles to assist them. So it's the intervention for the intervention. Sarah, follow-up question on that.
No, I like that. And I like the just the recycling. And again, the hard part is leaving the activity like kind of unfinished and letting that linger in that first week, like you said, to let the frustration build, but in a good way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because we're going to start with the most challenging, the most complex. We're going to throw everybody for a loop, but that's what kids need at the beginning of the year. We do that with our behaviors. We give them this like sticker shock for behaviors. We're like, this is how it's gonna be, and then when the honeymoon is over, like the third or fourth week of school, we've stuck it so hard to them that they behave the right way, or at least the majority of them do. Okay, then we have to individual behavior plan it for some. But we come out of the gate strong with behaviors at the beginning of the year. What I'm asking us to do is come out of the gate strong complexity wise with mathematics. But hopefully from today, you've seen how we backpedal then to make it accessible. So we show them the complex, we let it linger, and then we're like, oh, let's just make rectangles. And then the kids are like, oh, that's how I can figure out diamond problems. And what's going to happen is at the end of 15 days, not only is their fluency going to be better, they're going to be more independent and confident with all of your daily warm-ups now. Because we're going to do this all year. We launched the year so we can do this all year. And it becomes very efficient. So by day 25, it only takes 6 minutes of the beginning of my class, and then we move on to our lesson of the day. You have to give the time to it in the first 5 days and in the first 15 days to benefit from it on day 34, so to speak. Okay. These are the essentials, though. This is how we improve number sense. This is how we teach our content, just like Krista keeps bringing in the triangles and the area of the triangles and on the coordinate plane and slope triangles. And see, 96, 24, 36 are the triggers for all content standards from preschool through high school. That's it. 96, 24, 36. We are going to go in depth with those numbers, and you're going to see all year long how those numbers are the key to all of our content standards. So what I'm going to do now, again in the chat, is I'm going to drop the June event flyer. I want you to download the June event flyer. I'm actually going to pull it up here. I'm going to pull this up. I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to show you. Today was like the prerequisite for the June event. So anybody that registers for the June event is going to be asked to watch today's recording before they come to June event. And the reason is because you can see how today built the mindset for June event. I don't want to have to in June event go back and kind of explain this whole thing. I want in June event to pick up right here where we left off with the 96. And I want to show you the student resources. I'm going to be like, here's day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then your slide deck are going to have those 3-day cycles that I just described. But I don't want to have to go back and re-describe all of this. What you are going to get is a 5-day blueprint at the June event. This is a virtual event, 3 hours, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern time. You will get the recording. So if you can't be there live, register because you'll get the recording and all of the student resources, including the slide decks to just open and show, grab and go with your students, and the 2-column worksheets that are going to have the student task cards for the first 5 days with the instructor or with the teacher instructional facilitation guide. Not only are you going to get the 5-day blueprint, but you're going to get the examples for the next few weeks as well. So you're not just going to get 5 days of resources. The next few weeks are going to be 5-day cycles, just like the 3-day cycle I showed. Diamond, 120, rectangle. Diamond, 120, rectangle. There's 2 more things that you're going to see for day 4 and 5. Then you're going to get the slide deck for the first 3 weeks at least. That is going to be for your grade level and exactly what you're doing with your students. So you just open the slide deck and put it up there with your kids. I'm going to show you all these resources and how to use them during the June event. Notice here, number representations. We didn't talk today about pattern recognitions, but that's day 4 and 5. That's part of the 4-5 day cycle. Product sum relationships, that's diamond problems. I gave you that preview today. And then we're also going to learn how visual models of numbers and symbols are going to increase fluency, computation, and operation. How we create fact connections so that kids remember this forever. Fact fluency is about in 5 years from now, I want kids to just know what numbers we can skip count by to land on 96. We're going to look at counting progressions that helps us with understanding algebra series and sequences. Function, that's what we call it in algebra. Working memory workouts. Diamond problems are going to do that. Making rectangles, 120 charts. We're going to talk about how to have working memory exercises so that we can alleviate and minimize the amount of working memory that is needing for students in weeks 5, 6, and 7. And we're going to look at why subtraction and division are so difficult for students. In addition to this, you will get audio lessons of me teaching these things with kids. You're going to get 5-day math lesson cycles with the facilitation guides. What this looks like is the Google slides that are just grab and go ready for your students. You don't have to create them. You can copy and make adjustments and add to, but it's already there, as well as the 2-column worksheet packets that you can cut down the middle long ways, give your students one half of it, your facilitation guide is the other half. Hey, you can jump in and register today, right now. Go ahead and scan this QR code, swipe your credit card, get registered. If you want to register your team, we do have group discounts for more than 5 people. So make sure you do that. The June event is June 4th. Right now, we have registration open. This is what it looks like. And today was the preview event for June event. Bring your whole team. Bring 20 or 30 people from your district. We'll give you a great discount, so the cost is less per person. Your district can create a PO. This is our 15th annual math event. I'm going to say it's the most 15th annual June math event. It is probably the most essential one that we've ever created, because not only is this going to give you the step-by-step to launch your first 5 days, it's going to give you additional resources for the following few weeks until you create the habit for yourself and for your kids that you can then be able to do this all year long. So let me go back and just kind of recap our notes, because I will follow up with you. I will follow up with you if you were registered for today or if you were here live today. I will follow up with you, and I will be giving you I will attach these notes that have all my writing on it. So I'm going to save this as the notes so that it'll trigger, you'll remember, oh yeah, she did talk about that and that and that. That's why I tried to make sure I paused for a minute and wrote some of my notes as I was talking. Even though you can go back and watch the replay again and look at these notes, this should trigger some of these ideas. This is the exact way to scale math achievement. It is the way to build fluency. And I'm explicitly telling you what numbers to start with, how to use those numbers, and what these cycles of exercises are to build this with students. What'll happen is around November, December, we're going to use these numbers again to up level, to start preparing kids for our state test at the end of the year. Then it moves into what we've previously been launching in the last few months, which is our ideal mini course called Math Testing Secrets. Some of you have already purchased Math Testing Secrets, listen to me, I'm like all ahead of myself. If you are looking for the ultimate guide to scaling math achievement, your first step is June event. Well, your first step today was Saturday math. Your next step is attending June event, June 4th, 2026. Your next step is joining Math Teacher Mastermind for the 2026-2027 school year, where you'll be supported with this implementation and coaching all year. Then your next step is Math Testing Secrets, which is our self-study digital course. Then that brings us to testing season, which then brings us to June event 2027. So if you want to start this journey, today was your first day, June event is the actual first day. If you know people that weren't here today, you will have the opportunity to send them this link. This will be their first exposure. So the first step for them is to register for June event, and then I will then send them this link to watch this first exposure prior to the June event, and then go through the June event, Math Teacher Mastermind, Math Testing Secrets. That is your success path to scaling math achievement. Thoughts, comments, questions, and then I'm going to ask for takeaways. But first, thoughts, comments, questions on today. I'm looking at the chat, but go ahead and unmute as well. Okay, what I'd like for you to do right now is unmute and give me some takeaways or a takeaway from today. And also type those in the chat so I can save the chat and have your takeaways written. So, takeaway from today. What is your takeaway from today? Unmute and tell us, but also type in the chat. Please do that now. Yes, Brian.
Mine is, I guess, just the, I guess, connection and numeracy with the counting and the rectangle and the diamond. Because I'm a big reading teacher. So when you were mentioning the science of reading, I mean, a bunch of things just clicked all of a sudden. I was like, oh.
Perfect.
So it, I'm just kind of, I don't know. I've got so many things running through my head right now.
Yeah, you're just swimming in it now.
Kind of thinking about it because I'm like, wow, this could be a game changer.
Yeah.
Will that, one of the things that I try to do is I used to teach science. So I used to go to lower grades during my planning time and do like, just play them with magnets. No academic expectations today. Just see what you get. So I've been trying that with math where we go play games with the first graders, teach my fifth graders to do that. But I'm wondering, is this like if I come to the, do the June thing, will y'all are y'all going to give me like things I can use with different grades? Because I do not mind going and doing it because I'm just helping myself out in the long run.
Absolutely. And that's really the whole point of this. That's what I do all the time is go to the younger grades. I go to all the grade levels. Yes, when you get the Google folder link with all the resources, you get every grade level resources. Every participant gets everything.
All right. Because I'm thinking what happened in science was I do that and the teacher would go like, how do I get some of those?
Yes.
And I was like, I didn't tell them. I didn't say, hey, you need to do this is the best thing. They just saw what was going on. They were like, I want that. So I'm kind of wanting to build the same kind of thought process in my math. So I appreciate you.
Oh my gosh. And I'm going to help you do that. That's exactly what our mission is. So you've just hit it spot on. Excellent. Thank you, Brian.
Yep.
Good to see you again, too. Other takeaways.
I put it in the chat, but just starting with the more complex number of 96 generates that thinking and stimulates their brains from the start. But then those sub numbers of 12 and 24 and 8 and everything else comes out. And then you can continue deeper work on that with 120 chart and rectangles and diamond problems. But then they can always be thinking back to that more complex. So start with the complex.
Perfect. Other takeaways. Yep, and keep it simple. Start the year, do a 96. Don't give them any ifs, whys about it. Krista's not going to tell her kids that that she's trying to get them to buy in. She's just going to do things that are going to be like, what? Beautiful. All right, y'all, this is the month of May. We're just starting the month of May. Huge advertising of June event. I'm going to need all of your help to do that. So when I follow up with you, not only will I send you the PDF of the notes, I'll send you the link to this video. Today's video will go public on YouTube. I will also send you a copy of the June event flyer. Feel free to print and share with your schools, districts, other districts. If you know administrators in other districts, feel free to share by email the flyer and the link to today's session. So the whole month of May, our only goal right now is to get people to the June event. That is the #1 launch for next school year. And then at the end of the June event, we will then market the Math Teacher Mastermind. So the June event will be the first day of next year's Math Teacher Mastermind. So if somebody doesn't find out of the June event until July or August, but they want to join the mastermind, it's not a problem. They just have to go back and watch today's video, then the June event training, and then they have everything they need to jump into next year's Math Teacher Mastermind. So, oh, Crystal, congratulations. Crystal graduates this Friday from Central Michigan University with her master's. Crystal, huge congratulations to Crystal. Way to go, everybody. Thank you all for coming out on a Saturday morning and just being here, being with me, being you, because you all are the ones that are going to make this mission absolutely complete. And I got to take a picture. I enjoy all of you, and we are going to keep this movement going because I have all of you here to help me. So have a great weekend, everybody. Have a great month of May. Promote the June event, and I'll get a follow-up email to you in the next few days. Bye, everybody. You're welcome. Thank you. You're welcome, everybody. Thank you, and have a great week.